Human history is filled with brilliance and blunders, but few stories are as bizarre as those of tragically stupid deaths. These are the moments when curiosity, overconfidence, or sheer bad luck turned fatal proof that sometimes life's final lesson is a painfully ironic one that nobody saw coming. Art Scholl was one of those guys who made danger look like an art form, literally. Born in 1931, he was an aerobatic pilot, a flying instructor, and the kind of man who'd do barrel rolls for breakfast. If a movie needed a heart-racing aerial shot, chances were Art Scholl was the one in the cockpit making it happen. He wasn't just good at flying, he was that good. The kind of guy who'd make the clouds jealous. By the 1980s, he was already a legend in aviation circles, known for his flawless stunts, his charming grin, and his ability to make even gravity look like it was just another optional suggestion. Then came Top Gun, the movie that was about to make Tom Cruise a star and tragically take one of aviation's brightest stars out of the sky forever. It was 1985, and Top Gun was deep in production, capturing high-octane dogfights that would make audiences feel like they were strapped inside a fighter jet. The filmmakers wanted realism, nothing fake, nothing staged, and that's where Art Scholl came in. He was flying his modified Pitts S-2 biplane, a nimble little aircraft he had used for years to film incredible aerial footage. The mission that day was simple but dangerous. Execute a flat spin while filming to get a stunning perspective shot for the movie. For normal pilots, a flat spin is the kind of maneuver that sends chills down the spine. It's when your plane starts rotating flat like a frisbee while dropping fast. But for Scholl, it was just another Tuesday in the sky. He'd done spins countless times before. If anyone could pull it off safely, it was him. Cameras were rolling, radios were crackling, and somewhere down below, the film crew waited eagerly for that perfect shot. But this time, something went wrong. As Scholl's plane entered the spin, it didn't behave the way it was supposed to. He tried to recover, pulling the controls, adjusting the throttle, but the aircraft wouldn't respond. Over the radio came his final words, "I have a problem. I have a real problem." And then silence. The Pitts S-2 spiraled downward, vanishing into the blue expanse of the Pacific Ocean off the coast of Carlsbad, California. Search and rescue teams were dispatched immediately, combing the waters for days, but neither the plane nor Scholl's body was ever recovered. It was as if the ocean had swallowed him whole, taking with it one of aviation's most fearless spirits. The tragedy shook both Hollywood and the flying world. This wasn't just a crash, it was the loss of a legend who had spent his life dancing with danger and making it look poetic. When Top Gun finally hit theaters in 1986, it roared across the world as one of the most iconic action films ever made. The jets screamed, the music soared, and audiences were glued to their seats. But for those who knew the story behind the camera, there was an ache behind all the adrenaline. In the credits, a simple dedication appeared. This film is dedicated to the memory of Art Scholl. No flashy tribute, no dramatic narration, just quiet respect for the man who gave his life in the pursuit of cinematic perfection. His legacy lives on every time someone feels their pulse quicken during an aerial sequence, every time a plane roars into a sunset, every time a pilot dreams of pushing their limits just a little higher. Art Scholl wasn't just part of Top Gun. He was its heartbeat, the man who took the need for speed to a level few would ever dare. Even today, his story is a bittersweet reminder that sometimes the price of greatness is paid at 30,000 feet, where heroes chase the horizon and sometimes never come back. In 1995 Australia, the rave scene was booming with neon lights, baggy pants, glow sticks, and bass drops that made your ribs rattle. Among the thousands of teens caught in the glittering wave of dance culture was a bright, carefree 15-year-old girl named Anna Wood. She was not a rebel, a wild child, or some tragic stereotype. She was just your average Sydney teenager going to school, hanging out with friends, and soaking up the electric energy of the 90s. One October night, she decided to do what many kids at the time thought was harmless. She took a pill of MDMA, better known as ecstasy, at a rave. What happened next became one of Australia's most shocking wake-up calls about drugs, misinformation, and how even good intentions can go horribly wrong. The night started like any other party story. Anna went to a warehouse rave in Alexandria with her friends where the music was pounding. The crowd was sweaty, and everyone seemed to be living their best life under the strobe lights. Someone passed her a pill, and she swallowed it, probably thinking it was all part of the fun. Ecstasy had this odd reputation of being a harmless dance enhancer, something that made you feel happier and more connected. But as the hours went by, Anna began to feel unwell. Her body started to overheat, her stomach turned, and her head pounded. Her friends noticed she was struggling and, being caring teenagers, decided to take her home to let her rest. It seemed like the responsible thing to do. No one imagined what was really happening inside her body. At home, Anna's condition worsened. She felt hot, dizzy, and confused. In a desperate attempt to flush out the drug, she drank large amounts of water, believing that hydration would help. Instead of helping, it made things catastrophically worse. Her body could not handle the excess fluid, and her sodium levels plummeted, a condition known as hyponatremia. It caused her brain to swell, known medically as cerebral edema, something that can turn fatal frighteningly fast. By morning, she was slipping into unconsciousness. Her friends called for help, and Anna was rushed to Royal North Shore Hospital, where doctors fought to save her. The swelling was too severe, and despite their efforts, 3 days later on October 24th, 1995, Anna Wood was declared brain dead. She was only 15. What followed was not just heartbreak, but a nationwide conversation. Her parents, Tony and Angela Wood, made the brave decision to go public with Anna's story. They did not hide behind shame or anger. Instead, they shared their daughter's photo and her final moments to warn others. Their message was simple. This could happen to anyone. Anna was not a bad kid. She was not addicted, and she did not deserve to be judged. She was a normal girl who made one small, fatal mistake, one that thousands of others could have easily made too. The Australian media exploded with coverage. Schools began discussing drug safety more openly, and public health campaigns spread across the country. The phrase, "Don't let ecstasy be your last dance," became a haunting reminder that even one pill can destroy a life. In the years that followed, Anna's name became synonymous with awareness and education. Her story reshaped how Australians viewed drug use, not through punishment, but through understanding. It opened conversations about pill testing, safer partying, and the need for honest information. Today, her story still appears in documentaries, textbooks, and health campaigns, carrying the same powerful message that curiosity can cost you everything if you do not know what you are taking. Anna's legacy is about awareness, compassion, and the hope that no one else's good night out ends the same way. Anna Wood's story reminds us that life can change in a heartbeat, not from reckless rebellion, but from one moment of trust, one uninformed choice. It is tragic, it is human, and it is something Australia will never forget. Lynn, the mid-2000s, when internet cafes were booming across South Korea and the digital world was turning into a second home for many, one story stood out for all the wrong reasons. Lee Seung-seop, a 28-year-old man, became a tragic symbol of obsession taken too far. Like millions of others, Lee loved video games, and his favorite was StarCraft, the real-time strategy game that had become something of a national sport in South Korea. What started as a fun escape slowly turned into an unhealthy obsession. In August 2005, Lee walked into an internet cafe in Daegu, determined to play StarCraft for a while. But a while stretched into a marathon that lasted nearly 50 straight hours. With just a few bathroom breaks and quick snacks, he sat glued to the glowing screen, his world reduced to digital battles, base building, and Protoss strategies. Sleep became irrelevant, hunger became optional, and time melted into pixels and caffeine. At first, people around him probably thought he was just another passionate gamer, grinding through a long session, something that was hardly unusual in the gaming-obsessed culture of the time. South Korea's PC bangs, as the cafes were called, were open 24 hours a day and often filled with young gamers chasing high scores or online glory. But Lee's marathon session was different. After almost 2 days without rest, his body had reached its breaking point. He reportedly collapsed suddenly, his head falling onto the keyboard. Bystanders rushed to help, but when paramedics arrived, it was already too late. He was pronounced dead at a nearby hospital, and the cause was determined to be heart failure brought on by extreme exhaustion and dehydration. His body had simply given up after being pushed far beyond its limits. News of Lee's death spread quickly through the media, both in South Korea and internationally. It sounded almost unreal, like something out of a cautionary sci-fi movie where virtual reality consumes real life. But this was no fiction. The incident sparked nationwide conversations about the growing problem of gaming addiction. South Korea, a country that had embraced gaming as both entertainment and professional sport, suddenly had to confront the dark side of that passion. Government officials and health experts began calling for awareness campaigns, and internet cafes faced greater scrutiny. Even the gaming community started reflecting on its culture, realizing that behind the fun and competition, there were real risks when balance was lost. Lee's story became a somber reminder that obsession, even with something harmless like a video game, can turn deadly when moderation disappears. His name appeared in documentaries, online forums, and newspaper columns as a symbol of the dangers of excess. Many people who read about his death didn't just see a gamer who went too far. They saw a reflection of modern life itself, where people can easily get consumed by screens, deadlines, and digital distractions. It wasn't just about gaming addiction anymore. It was about the thin line between dedication and self-destruction, between passion and obsession. Today, the world has moved forward with more awareness of digital health, but the echoes of Lee's story still linger in conversations about responsible gaming. Game companies now include reminders to take breaks, and governments have introduced programs to educate players about the importance of moderation. Lee Seung-seop may not have intended to make history, but his tragic death became a lesson that continues to resonate. His story reminds us that while the virtual world can be exciting and limitless, our real bodies and minds have boundaries that should never be ignored. The message is simple yet powerful. No game, no matter how thrilling, is worth losing your life over. In August 2003, the quiet town of Erie, Pennsylvania, became the stage for one of the most mind-bending and tragic crime stories in American history, the tale of Brian Douglas Wells, the so-called pizza bomber. It all began like any ordinary workday for Wells, a 46-year-old pizza delivery man who was described by those who knew him as polite, soft-spoken, and unassuming. He was just doing his rounds, delivering pizzas as usual, until he received a call to bring an order to a remote address on the outskirts of town. That was when things spiraled into something out of a Hollywood thriller, except this time it was terrifyingly real. When Wells showed up at the isolated radio tower location, he was allegedly ambushed, overpowered, and fitted with a metal collar bomb around his neck. His captors handed him a cane that was actually a shotgun, and a set of instructions for an elaborate scavenger hunt that would supposedly lead him to the keys and codes needed to free himself, but only if he robbed a bank first. Just after 2 p.m., Wells walked into a PNC bank wearing a white t-shirt with the words, "Guess what? I have a bomb," written across it, carrying the cane gun in one hand and a note demanding $250,000 in the other. The tellers, understandably terrified, gave him about $8,700 before he calmly walked out, as if this were just another delivery run gone weird. Police caught up with him not far from the bank, near his car in a parking lot. At first, the officers were unsure what to make of it, since Wells seemed nervous but cooperative, repeatedly insisting that he had been forced into the heist and that the bomb would go off soon. The police handcuffed him and called for the bomb squad, but time was not on anyone's side. As TV cameras rolled and sirens wailed in the background, the eerie countdown came to an end. The collar detonated with a loud pop, sending a chilling shockwave through the stunned crowd. Wells was killed instantly, and the horrifying footage was broadcast across the nation. In the hours that followed, what looked like a simple case of a man coerced into committing a crime quickly unraveled into something far stranger. The investigation revealed a tangled web of conspirators, all linked by greed, deceit, and a stunning lack of humanity. Among them was Marjorie Deal Armstrong, an unstable but intelligent woman with a long history of mental illness and criminal behavior, and her ex-boyfriend Bill Rothstein, a handyman with a flair for manipulation. Together, they had cooked up a plan to rob the bank using a pawn, someone expendable enough to take the fall. The FBI's investigation stretched on for years, peeling back layers of bizarre twists and betrayals. Evidence suggested that Wells may not have been as innocent as he first appeared. He reportedly had some awareness of the plot, but was likely misled into thinking the bomb would be fake. Whether he was a willing participant or an unlucky dupe remains one of the biggest unanswered questions of the case. By the time the truth started to surface, most of the key players were either dead or in prison. Deal Armstrong was convicted in 2010 and died in federal custody 7 years later. Rothstein had already passed away, taking many of his secrets with him. The case left behind a haunting legacy, a reminder of how a small-town pizza man got caught in a nightmarish plan that mixed greed, madness, and fatal trust. Even today, the pizza bomber's story stands as one of the most disturbing crime sagas ever told. A grim puzzle that feels like part true crime documentary, part dark satire of human stupidity. It is the kind of story that makes you realize real life does not need a script to be unbelievable, because sometimes the truth is the scariest plot twist of all. The story of Gary Hoy is one of those tragic real-life incidents that sound almost unbelievable, something between a cautionary tale and a grim piece of office legend. On July 9, 1993, Hoy, a respected corporate lawyer at Toronto's Holden Day Wilson firm, attended a reception on the 24th floor of the Toronto Dominion Centre, where new summer interns were being introduced to the firm. It was a relaxed, cheerful evening with people mingling, light conversations flowing, and an air of excitement filling the modern high-rise office. Among the firm's partners, Gary Hoy was known for his good humor and for one particular, bizarre demonstration he liked to perform, showing just how strong the building's windows were by throwing himself against them. It was meant to be harmless fun, a confident display of engineering marvels and personal bravado combined. Hoy had done this demonstration before, more than once, and the glass had never broken. The windows, made of tempered glass, were indeed designed to withstand heavy impact. Colleagues often laughed nervously when he did it, but since nothing ever went wrong, it became a quirky trademark move, one that seemed to embody Gary's mix of intelligence and fearlessness. Unfortunately, on that warm July evening, what had always been a joke turned into a fatal miscalculation. In front of the group of interns and colleagues, Gary once again charged at the large glass window. Just as before, the glass did not shatter, but this time, something else gave way. The entire window frame dislodged from its casing, popping out under the sudden force. In a split second, Gary and the intact glass pane fell from the 24th floor, plummeting to the courtyard below. The glass remained whole, but there was no surviving a fall from such a height. News of the accident spread quickly, first through the building, then across the city, and soon internationally. Reporters and onlookers were stunned, not only by the bizarre circumstances but also by the sheer irony of it all. The coroner's report later confirmed what eyewitnesses had said. The glass itself had not failed. The frame holding it in place had simply not been designed to resist such repeated impacts. Building engineers noted that while skyscraper glass is made to withstand strong winds and accidental bumps, it is not meant to take the full momentum of a human body hitting it head-on. What was once seen as a funny, almost harmless stunt suddenly stood as a chilling example of how overconfidence and misunderstanding of safety limits can lead to tragedy. In the aftermath, the law firm was shaken to its core. Colleagues were devastated, especially those who had watched it happen. Holden Day Wilson, one of Canada's larger law firms at the time, never fully recovered from the blow, both emotionally and reputationally. Within a few years, the firm closed down entirely. Some attributed its decline to internal issues that had existed before the tragedy, but many believed that Hoy's death marked a turning point from which it never truly rebounded. The incident also sparked discussions in the building industry about safety protocols and how office workers interact with architectural features that, while sturdy, are not indestructible. Over time, the story of Gary Hoy took on a strange kind of afterlife in popular culture. It has been featured on television programs, online documentaries, and countless YouTube videos discussing strangest deaths or real-life Darwin Award winners. While the tone of such retellings often borders on dark humor, the truth remains deeply sobering. Hoy was not reckless or foolish in spirit. He was a man demonstrating what he believed to be safe, something he had tested many times before. Yet, his final act became a grim lesson in how easily confidence can cross into carelessness. It is a reminder that even the strongest glass has limits, and that sometimes the difference between a daring display and a disaster is just one impact too many.